Next one I wanted to bring up is do you think games like Cyberpunk 2077, there are some issues with it, but Cyberpunk 2077 allowed people to explore the way they perceived gender? Um, and,
So, unfortunately, no. Sorry, I was kind of prepared for you to ask this one, because actually, Cyberpunk's handling of gender, freedom of gender expression, and stuff like that was actually handled very poorly. For instance, they still kept hairstyles locked to gender. Men can have these hairstyles, or rather, male based models can have these hairstyles, female based models can have these hairstyles. They didn't have a lot of variety in builds. So if you wanted to play as a very androgynous person, basically all ENBs got in Cyberpunk. I apologize if you're not supposed to cuss on this.
only on the
Um,
YouTube side do I care, which I can edit out.
okay. So yeah, if you wanted to present as androgynous or um, yeah, non-binary, you didn't have that option. And beyond that, your pronouns in the game were locked to which voice you chose. Batboy is one of the people who actually played it, and he couldn't make a feminine looking male, couldn't make a flat chested female. And the fact that they locked your voice to your pronouns is so beyond backwards, because so many trans people, one of the biggest sources of their dysphoria is their voice. So it's like, oh, hey, you managed to look super feminine and gorgeous and everything like that, but you still sound masculine. We're going to call you a dude. It's like, how did you guys screw that one up? How?
You are 100% correct. I am not that I don't want to challenge. What I'm the only aspect of it I want to challenge is the idea of and it's a very shallow. I understand it's very shallow. I'm an ally of the LGBTQA. I am not a member. I am going to phrase it, which unfortunately,
Right.
uh, so
Which, yeah,
so I can't say I understand, but on the shallow side of it, it does allow for people a foot in the door, so to speak, to look at what is considered a gender norm differently. You have
kind of.
from where I'm from. I'm originally from Ocala, Florida. It's like 2 hours north of Orlando. It is in the middle of. I lived in the Ocala National Forest. I lived in the middle of nowhere. It was an hour drive to a Walmart. I said all that to
Oh
say
boy.
this: the people I grew up with, the idea that your sexual equipment could be anything, the idea that gender and sex are two separate things does not, they cannot fathom it, they cannot process
Right.
it, and I still see them on Facebook. So even this slight foot in the door to a very popular game, I feel does help out. Now, could they have done better? Oh, the hell the yes. Like, not even
Right.
subtly.
Now, my thing is, if they hadn't made all of these promises and made such a big deal out of how, you know, LGBT positive it was going to be and how trans positive it was going to be, and hey, you can play as you can play as a trans character, you can play as a cis character, you can be gay, you can be bi, all of that. If they hadn't made all these lofty promises about that and made such a big freaking deal out of it, absolutely it would have been breaking new ground. But unfortunately, since they made all of those promises and had so many PR blunders relating to the LGBT community,
Mhm.
I can't give them those points. I just can't.
Okay,
They
uh,
dropped the ball really bad.
on that ground, I can 100% agree with you. 100%. The one thing I do want to bring up, and this is on the same vein, but nowhere near. And one is going to be a weird, selfish side, which will explain a lot about me. One of the cyanide and happiness jokes that you saw was, if you don't know, there's like stick figure people for it, and they said how everybody's
Right.
going to look coming out of out of Character Creator in Cyberpunk, and it's basically male bits and pieces bigger than they are, and then boobs the size of basketballs. And you obviously can't get that big, but the fact that it was expected that everybody was going to do that, I think, said a lot about the people in question. It allowed them to go,
Right,
wait a
that's
second,
true.
hang on a minute.
Well, and that's actually kind of problematic, honestly, because a lot of people looked at the notion that you can play this is going to sound very offensive, and I apologize very much for the viewers, but basically, certain people looked at the customization options in Cyberpunk and they immediately fetishized it. They immediately went, hey, look, I can play. And again, I apologize. This is the way that the people I'm detracting would think. They could say, I could play a chick with a dick. And that's as far as they get with it. That's as far as they think of it. And it's honestly kind of reductive. It's kind of the opposite direction that I would want to go in.
Understandable.
Which, unfortunately, it's a combination of a PR issue and an audience issue. You're always going to get those kinds of people, but the fact that the main thing that people thought was, oh, you can play a character with a, Magnum that, and yeah, just I think unfortunately they handled it wrong, and I think it did get people talking about gender identity, LGBT, and things along those lines. So I will give them like 2 brownie points for that. But unfortunately, a lot of the discussions went in completely the wrong direction.
Okay, I can agree with that. Now on my joking, my perverted side, I am upset that and this is a really weird one, that all boobs have to look natural in the game.
Have basketball boobs?
Oh no, not necessarily natural basketball size boobs, but I'm like saying when you were playing a game where you're like people are cyborg and stuff like that, but no one has silicone breast implants. I'm like, really? Like
Nobody
character.
Has squeaky toys in there?
Like that's the minimum. Could you imagine that? Like you have a set of boobs and you can squeak them. Squeak. I'd get no work done in the day. Nothing sexual about it. Like squeak toy. Like nothing would get done.
Kind of stealing a joke from Robin Williams there.
Oh no, I know. Oh yeah, great guy.
Bluetooth speakers in your tits. Actually, just give guys a squeaky toy. We'd be getting them all day. Just
you save a guy who had a dick implant that was like literally overheating itself. You save a guy like that. So there are sexual implants like that, but they don't have boob implants. Like try and tell me there wouldn't be at least one stripper who like, okay, I have work mode. Boom. Oh wait, I'm off the clock. Zoom. Athletic mode.
Get my heartbeat playing through glowing in there. All right, we've gone on a bit of a tangent with this.
I know because we were on like a dead serious side, and I wanted to jump away from it.
Trying to introduce a little bit of levity into it.